The desert wind howls like a banshee, clawing at the tattered edges of the tent. Dust devils dance in the periphery of my vision, mocking reminders of the chaos I can't outrun, the faces I can't forget. Sleep offers no escape, only a relentless slideshow of horrors replayed on the back of my eyelids. Sergeant Miller's vacant stare, the sickening crunch of metal on bone, the acrid smell of burning flesh clinging to the air even now, thousands of miles away from that cursed landscape. I squeeze my eyes shut, but the images only intensify, burning, brighter, sharper, until they threaten to consume me whole. The pills the doctor prescribed lie untouched on the rickety bedside table. They promise oblivion, a temporary reprieve from the relentless torment. But oblivion feels like betrayal. Betrayal to Miller, betrayal to the others, betrayal to the boy. The boy with the impossibly wide eyes and the dirt-streaked face. The boy who clung to my leg as the world crumbled around us. He deserved better. They all deserved better. And I, the supposed hero, the man trained to save lives, could only watch as their fates were sealed in the unforgiving sands of Iraq. Outside, the wind continues its mournful song, a constant lament for the fallen. I pull the threadbare blanket tighter around me, seeking a comfort that will never come. The silence inside the tent is deafening, broken only by the frantic hammering of my own heart. Each beat a painful reminder of the promises I made, the promises I failed to keep. The mission was supposed to be simple: extract a high-value target and get out. But nothing is ever simple in war. And some wounds, it seems, never truly heal. They fester, they bleed, they poison the soul. Sarah always said I had eyes that could see right through people. She said I had a gift, an intuition that allowed me to understand unspoken truths. I scoffed at the time, dismissing it as romantic nonsense. But now, staring into the abyss of my own fractured reflection, I wonder if she was right. Maybe I did see too much. Maybe that's why the memories cling to me so fiercely, refusing to let go. Maybe that's why the faces of the dead haunt my dreams. It was a lifetime ago, or so it feels, when I first met Sarah. I was fresh out of training, brimming with naive idealism and a misplaced sense of invincibility. She was working at the local diner, slinging hash and dispensing wisdom with equal measure. Her hair, the color of spun gold, cascaded down her back like a waterfall. Her eyes, the shade of a summer sky, held a depth of understanding that belied her youthful appearance. She saw something in me, something beyond the uniform and the bravado. She saw the vulnerability I tried so hard to conceal. We met over a plate of greasy fries and a shared pot of lukewarm coffee. I was drawn to her warmth, her genuine kindness. She listened patiently as I rambled on about my dreams of serving my country, of making a difference in the world. She didn't interrupt, didn't judge. She simply listened, her eyes filled with a quiet empathy that disarmed me completely. And when I finally finished, breathless and self-conscious, she smiled. A slow, radiant smile that lit up her entire face. "You have a good heart, Michael," she said softly. "Don't let them take it from you." Her words resonated with me, even then. I knew, deep down, that the world I was about to enter was a harsh and unforgiving place. A place where innocence was a liability and compassion a weakness. But Sarah's words gave me hope, a glimmer of light in the encroaching darkness. I promised myself that I would hold on to that goodness, that I would never allow the horrors of war to extinguish the flame within me. A promise, it seems, that I was ultimately unable to keep. We spent hours talking that first night, sharing stories, dreams, and fears. She told me about her aspirations to become a teacher, to shape young minds and inspire future generations. I told her about my family, my small-town upbringing, my unwavering belief in the American dream. We discovered a shared love of old movies, classic literature, and long walks in the woods. We found solace in each other's company, a refuge from the loneliness that had plagued us both for so long. Over the next few months, our connection deepened. We became inseparable, two souls intertwined in a dance of mutual respect and affection. She taught me the importance of empathy, of seeing the world through the eyes of others. I taught her the value of courage, of standing up for what you believe in, even when the odds are stacked against you. We challenged each other, supported each other, and loved each other unconditionally. She was my anchor, my safe harbor in a storm-tossed sea, and I hope, was hers. The Humvee lurched violently, throwing me against the armored door. A deafening explosion ripped through the air, followed by the sickening screech of metal tearing. We'd hit an IED. I remember the ringing in my ears, a high-pitched whine that blotted out everything else for a few precious seconds. Then came the screams. Ramirez was pinned, his legs crushed beneath the twisted chassis. Miller, miraculously conscious, was trying to pull him free, his face contorted in a mask of pain and desperation. I scrambled out, adrenaline coursing through my veins, the acrid smell of burning rubber and fuel stinging my nostrils. The world seemed to move in slow motion. We were sitting ducks, exposed. I grabbed my rifle, scanning the horizon for the telltale glint of sunlight on a scope, the subtle movement in the scrub that would betray our attackers. Nothing. Just the oppressive heat and the suffocating silence that always precedes the storm. I laid down suppressing fire toward the most likely ambush point, a dilapidated building a few hundred meters away, praying it would buy us some time. Miller was screaming now, a primal, guttural sound that tore at my soul. He couldn't free Ramirez. The metal was too mangled, the weight too immense. I knew what we had to do. I knew, but the words wouldn't come. "Miller, we need to move. We can't stay here." My voice sounded distant, detached, as if someone else were speaking. He looked at me, his eyes wide with disbelief, tears streaming down his dirt-streaked face. "We can't leave him, Sergeant. We can't." I forced myself to look at Ramirez. His eyes were locked on mine, pleading, understanding. He knew. He knew he was a liability, a death sentence if we stayed. He gave the faintest of nods, a barely perceptible movement of his head. It was enough. It was all I needed. "Miller, now, we have to go." I grabbed him by the arm, pulling him away from the wreckage, forcing him to his feet. He resisted, fighting me with every ounce of his being, but I was stronger. I had to be. As we retreated, I risked one last glance back. Ramirez was still watching us, his eyes filled with a mixture of pain, resignation, and forgiveness. The image is seared into my memory, an indelible stain on my soul. Then the world exploded again. A rocket-propelled grenade slammed into the Humvee, engulfing it in a ball of fire. I didn't see it happen, but I heard it, felt it. The heat washed over us, a searing wave of agony and despair. We ran. We ran as fast as we could, fueled by adrenaline and guilt. We didn't stop until we reached the relative safety of the rally point, a small fortified outpost a few kilometers away. I collapsed, my body shaking uncontrollably, the taste of bile rising in my throat. Miller sat beside me, silent, staring blankly into the distance. He didn't speak for days. When he finally did, it was to request a transfer. I didn't blame him. I wanted to leave too. I wanted to escape the memories, the guilt, the crushing weight of what we had done. But I couldn't. I was trapped in my own personal hell. The nightmares started soon after we returned stateside. Every night I relived that day, the explosion, the screams, Ramirez's eyes. I wake up in a cold sweat, my heart pounding, the smell of burning metal filling my nostrils. Sometimes I see his face in the mirror, accusing, unforgiving. I try to tell myself that we did the right thing, that we had no choice. But the words ring hollow, a pathetic attempt to justify the unjustifiable. Sleep offers no escape. The days aren't much better. The faces of strangers blur into the haunted visage of Ramirez. Loud noises send me spiraling back to that dusty road in Iraq. Fireworks on the 4th of July, a symphony of terror. A slammed car door, the echo of an IED explosion. I've become a prisoner of my own mind, trapped in a perpetual loop of trauma and regret. They call it PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, a clinical term for a broken soul. They offer therapy, medication. I've tried it all. The therapists nod sympathetically, their eyes filled with a pity that I don't want. The medication numbs the pain, but it also numbs everything else. I become a ghost, a shadow of my former self, drifting through life without purpose or direction. My relationships have suffered. My wife, Sarah, tried to understand, but eventually she couldn't take it anymore. The distance between us grew, an unbridgeable chasm of silence and unspoken pain. She left, taking our children with her. I don't blame her. I wasn't a husband or a father anymore. I was just a broken man, haunted by the ghosts of the past. Now, I spend most of my days alone, holed up in my apartment, the curtains drawn, the world shut out. I drink to dull the pain, to silence the voices in my head. Sometimes it works. Sometimes, for a few precious hours, I can forget. But the reprieve is always temporary. The darkness always returns, stronger and more insidious than before. I see the VA shrink once a month. He asks the same questions, I give the same rote answers. We both know it's a charade, a box-ticking exercise designed to make the system feel like it's doing something. He adjusts my medication, offers platitudes about coping mechanisms and support groups. I smile politely, nod my head, and walk out, knowing that nothing has changed. The truth is, there is no cure for what ails me. There is no magic pill that can erase the memories, no therapy that can heal the wounds. I am condemned to carry this burden for the rest of my days, a living testament to the horrors of war. And sometimes, late at night, when the silence is deafening and the darkness is all-encompassing, I wonder if Ramirez was right. Maybe it would have been better if we had all died there on that dusty road in Iraq. Maybe then the nightmares would finally end. The desert wind howled a mournful dirge, mirroring the desolation in my soul. I knelt beside Sarah's makeshift grave, the rough-hewn marker a stark reminder of our failure. The sun beat down, relentless, unforgiving, baking the sand into a shimmering mirage of what could have been. Around me, the team moved like ghosts, packing up the remnants of our shattered mission. Each movement was slow, deliberate, weighed down by the unspoken grief that hung heavy in the air. We had recovered Elias, but at what cost? He was alive, yes, but the light had gone out of his eyes. He sat huddled in the Humvee, staring blankly ahead, a shell of the vibrant man I once knew. The doctors said he would need extensive therapy, both physical and psychological. They spoke of PTSD, of trauma-induced amnesia, but I knew, deep down, that some wounds never truly heal. Some scars run too deep. As I turned to leave, my gaze fell upon the crude drawing Sarah had made in the sand before we breached the compound. A stick-figure family, bathed in the radiant glow of a childlike sun. A simple, innocent depiction of the life she dreamed of. A life that was now irrevocably stolen. The image seared itself into my memory, a permanent brand on my conscience. Later, on the flight back, I sat next to Elias. He remained unresponsive, lost in a world of his own making. I reached out and gently touched his arm. He flinched, his eyes widened with a primal fear. "Elias, it's me, David," I whispered, my voice hoarse with emotion. "We're going home." He didn't react. I pulled out the worn photograph I had found clutched in his hand, a picture of his wife and daughter, their faces beaming with love. I placed it in his lap. Slowly, painstakingly, he picked it up, his fingers trembling. He stared at the image for what seemed like an eternity, his brow furrowed in confusion. Then, a single tear traced a path down his cheek. a flicker of recognition, a spark of humanity rekindled in his eyes. Back home, the fanfare of our arrival felt hollow, almost obscene. The medals, the accolades, the pats on the back, they all rang false. How could I celebrate when Sarah lay buried in the sands of Iraq, her dreams extinguished? How could I feel victorious when Elias was a broken man, his spirit shattered? I visited Sarah's parents. Their grief was a palpable thing, a heavy shroud that suffocated the air. They thanked me for bringing her home, for giving them closure, but I saw the pain in their eyes, the unspoken question that haunted their every waking moment. Why her? Why did she have to die? I had no answers, only regrets. Months turned into years. Elias began his long, arduous journey toward recovery. He reconnected with his family, slowly rebuilding the life that had been so brutally disrupted. He would never be the same, but he was alive, and that, I realized, was a victory in itself. I left the military. The weight of command, the burden of responsibility had become too much to bear. I needed to find peace, to reconcile with the ghosts that haunted me. I bought a small cabin in the mountains, far from the noise and chaos of the world. I spent my days hiking, fishing, and reading. I sought solace in nature, in the quiet solitude of the wilderness. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, I sat on my porch, watching the fireflies dance in the twilight. A letter arrived. It was from Elias. He wrote of his progress, of his gratitude, of his unwavering hope for the future. He also wrote of Sarah. He said that he would never forget her sacrifice, her courage, her unwavering belief in the goodness of humanity. He said that she had saved his life, not just physically, but spiritually. He ended the letter with a simple request, to visit him and his family. I hesitated. The thought of reliving those memories, of confronting the pain that still lingered, filled me with dread. But I knew that I owed it to him, to Sarah, to myself. I drove to his house the following weekend. As I pulled into the driveway, I saw him standing on the porch, his wife and daughter by his side. He looked different, stronger, more at peace. He smiled, a genuine, heartfelt smile that reached his eyes. We embraced, a silent acknowledgement of the shared trauma that had bound us together. His daughter, a bright, inquisitive child, ran up to me and handed me a drawing. It was a picture of a family, bathed in the radiant glow of a childlike sun. A familiar image, one that had haunted my dreams for years. But this time, there was something different. A new figure had been added to the scene. A soldier, standing guard, watching over them with unwavering loyalty. As I looked at the drawing, I understood. Sarah's sacrifice had not been in vain. Her memory lived on, not just in our hearts, but in the lives of those she had saved. And in that moment, I finally found peace. The desert wind still whispered, but now it carried a message of hope, of resilience, of the enduring power of the human spirit. The rescue mission had gone wrong, terribly wrong, but from the ashes of tragedy, something beautiful had emerged, a testament to the courage of one woman and the enduring bond between brothers in arms. The haunting remained, but it was a softer echo now, a reminder not just of loss, but of love, sacrifice, and the unwavering light that can pierce even the darkest of nights.